She promised me a family. She looked me in the eyes and said, soon. 8 years later, I found out. She knew all along. She could never have kids. She just wanted the ring, the house. I almost walked away, but then I stayed and made sure she'd never lie to anyone again. Now she cries alone in the house she almost kept. And I sleep just fine. The days had always felt the same. Life with Emily was routine, comfortable, even predictable. We'd been married for 8 years, and for all that time, I had believed we were on the same page. The same dreams, the same goals. We had been talking about the future ever since we met, planning out everything together, where we would live, how we would build our careers, and of course, when we'd start having kids. We were saving for a house, for a future that was supposed to include children. At least that's what I thought. I'll admit, I wasn't the most sensitive person when it came to children. I wanted them, sure, but I also knew Emily wasn't ready for that. She'd always said she needed more time, that we needed to make sure our careers were stable first. But that wasn't unusual. Plenty of couples talk about having kids down the road, and we were no different. But every conversation we'd had over the years about waiting for the right time, about getting our lives in order before taking on the responsibility of children, had always felt reassuring. I never doubted it. So when we sat down together that evening, the two of us, in our cozy living room after dinner, I wasn't expecting anything out of the ordinary. We were talking about how to start looking for a house, picking out colors, choosing a neighborhood, deciding on how many bedrooms we'd want. It wasn't until the conversation drifted into the topic of children that everything fell apart. I can't have children. Her voice was quiet, but it felt like a lightning strike, something that stopped everything in its tracks. I blinked, unsure if I'd heard her correctly. What do you mean you can't have children? She hesitated. Her hands trembled slightly as she set down her wine glass. I've known for years, Daniel, she said, looking away as though she were ashamed. I was diagnosed a long time ago. There's no way I could have kids. It's just not possible for me. The words hung in the air, and I could feel the weight of them pushing down on me. My heart skipped a beat. For a moment, the room felt smaller, suffocating. I couldn't process it, couldn't make sense of what she was telling me. Why didn't you tell me this before? I asked, my voice cracking slightly, though I didn't want it to. We've been planning this future together for years. You knew all along, and you never told me? Her face reddened, and she shifted uncomfortably in her seat. She opened her mouth as though to explain, but no words came out. Finally, she spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. I didn't know how. I didn't know how to tell you. I sat there stunned, not knowing what to say. The world around me felt distant, like I was standing outside of myself, looking in. This wasn't the life I had imagined. This wasn't the future we'd been working toward. You've known this whole time? I asked again, my voice now a little more forceful, a little more incredulous. And you never said anything? All those plans, the house, the kids, the future, they were all a lie? I could see the guilt in her eyes, but it did nothing to ease the hurt. She opened her mouth to say something, but I didn't want to hear it. There was nothing she could say now that would make this better. I felt angry, furious. But more than that, I felt betrayed. Betrayed by the woman I had trusted with everything. We'd been building a life together, and I had been unaware, living in a fantasy. She had lied to me for years, not just about the future, but about everything we'd worked for. She had held back this crucial truth, letting me believe we were on the same path. I don't understand, I said, my voice trembling now. Why would you do that? Why would you let me believe this? I thought I could change it. I thought maybe. She trailed off, her gaze dropping to the floor. But then it was too late to tell you. The anger started to swell in my chest, burning hotter with every word she spoke. I felt like I was suffocating. Too late? Too late? What do you mean by that? I shot back, standing up now, unable to sit still anymore. You let me waste years of my life, believing we were building a future together. You lied to me. You lied about everything. Her eyes filled with tears, and for a moment, I thought I might feel sorry for her. But the rage inside me was too overwhelming. She had taken something from me. She had taken my future. I couldn't stay there another second. I turned to leave the room, but then I stopped myself. I couldn't just walk away. Not yet. Not until I understood what had happened and what I was supposed to do with all this. I couldn't just walk out of this marriage. Not yet. I couldn't leave her empty-handed, like she had left me. But I wasn't sure how I was going to stay either. I didn't say anything. I didn't know what to say. Instead, I walked into the guest room, shut the door, and collapsed onto the bed, staring at the ceiling. I wanted to leave. I really did. I wanted to get in my car and drive far, far away from all of this. But there was something else inside me. Something darker, colder. I couldn't explain it, but I knew it. I knew I couldn't leave her yet. Not until I made her feel what I was feeling. It wasn't just about the kids, not anymore. It was about the lies, the manipulation, the trust she had destroyed. I stayed, but not for her. The following days felt like I was living in a fog, stumbling through a life I didn't recognize. Emily tried to talk to me, but I couldn't bring myself to look at her the same way. She didn't understand. How could she? The woman I'd loved, the woman I'd spent the last 8 years with, had been hiding a part of herself that had altered everything I thought I knew about our marriage. I couldn't escape the constant thoughts circling in my mind. Betrayal, deception, the way I'd given everything to a future that was never real. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw it. The years we'd spent, building something that was nothing but a lie. I couldn't bring myself to confront her again, but I also couldn't leave. Not yet. Not without fully understanding what had happened. Why had she done it? Why hadn't she told me? Was it because she thought I'd leave her? Did she love me that little? The questions gnawed at me, but no answer seemed to make sense. It was late at night when I realized something. She had done it out of fear. Fear that I would leave her, just like I was planning to now. She had clung to a dream, not for us, but for herself. She didn't want to lose me, so she hid the truth. But she had underestimated me. She underestimated what I could handle, what we could handle. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, my mind racing. The more I thought about it, the colder I became. I had never planned on staying with her, not after what I'd learned. But I wasn't going to walk away, not yet. No, I was going to stay, but not for her. I was going to make her feel what I felt. I was going to make her understand the weight of the lie she'd buried me under. It was clear now that I couldn't just confront her and get the closure I was seeking. That would be too easy. I needed more. I needed to take control. I needed to break her the same way she had broken me, piece by piece, until she saw exactly how much damage she had caused. I spent the next few weeks observing her. I took note of the way she spoke to me, the way she looked at me, the small, subtle changes that told me she had no idea what was happening beneath the surface. She thought we were still working through it, trying to get past it all, but I wasn't. Not at all. I was playing a game now, and I was going to win. Her attempts at conversation felt hollow, empty. I would nod occasionally, but my mind was elsewhere. I started pulling away emotionally, just a little at first, then more. I didn't text her as much. I stopped answering her calls right away. I started to make her wait, make her wonder what I was thinking. It was subtle at first, small things like not picking up the phone or not showing any interest in her day. But over time, I could see the cracks forming. I stopped planning things with her. No more talks about the house, no more dreams about the future. When she brought it up, I gave short, non-committal answers. I didn't lie, I just didn't give her anything to hold on to. I made her feel small, insignificant. I let her sit in the uncertainty, not knowing if I was going to leave or stay. She couldn't predict me anymore. It was working. Slowly but surely, I could see her unease, the guilt, the regret. It started to creep in, and with it came desperation. She began to change her approach, trying to win me back. She'd make dinner, go out of her way to show affection, trying to do things that we used to do, but I didn't bite. I wasn't interested in her efforts anymore. I couldn't be. Instead, I played my own game. I began to manipulate her in ways she couldn't see. I would pretend to open up, show a little vulnerability, just enough to make her think we were working through it together. but every time I pulled back just before she could get too close. I wanted her to think she had a chance, only to take it away from her each time. It was cruel, but it was the only way I could see to get the justice I needed. The only way to make her understand the depth of the pain she'd caused me. One night she asked me, "Do you still love me?" The question came out of nowhere. She was sitting across from me, her eyes filled with a mixture of hope and fear. I didn't answer right away. I just looked at her, studying her face, searching for any signs of guilt or honesty. But it didn't matter. I had no intention of answering her question truthfully. Instead, I gave her a small, almost imperceptible shrug. "I don't know." The silence that followed was deafening. I could see her break a little. It was subtle, but I saw it. The way her shoulders slumped, the way she clenched her jaw, the way her eyes momentarily lost their focus. For the first time in months, I saw her unsure of herself, unsure of us. She didn't ask again. I could feel her slipping further away from me. At first, it had been subtle. The small changes in her demeanor, the guilt-ridden looks she tried to hide whenever she thought I wasn't paying attention. But now it was becoming clearer. Emily was panicking. She was trying, desperately, to piece together what was left of us. But the more she reached, the more I pulled away. I had stopped pretending everything was okay. I stopped making her feel like we could fix this. I let the tension grow, let the silence hang between us like a heavy weight. It felt good in a way. It felt like control, and control was what I needed now. She had taken so much from me, but now the power was mine. I started letting her wonder. Wonder if I was planning to leave. Wonder if there was anyone else. Wonder if I still cared. Every time she asked, I gave her nothing. I'd turn the question back on her. "What do you think?" I'd say, my voice as cold as I could make it. The truth was, I didn't know if I still loved her. How could I? The woman I had spent years building a life with had lied to me about the most important thing, about our future. I wasn't the same person anymore. I wasn't the man who could look at her the same way. But I didn't leave. The more I pulled away, the more she tried to pull me back. She started sending me little messages. "I miss us. We can fix this, I know we can." At first I ignored them, but then I started playing along. I would reply, but only with just enough to keep her hopeful. "We'll talk later. Maybe things will get better." But we both knew it wasn't about getting better. It was about getting even. I had learned how to play this game, and now I was in control. I manipulated the situation with such precision that even she didn't know when she was being played. I began subtly undermining her every move, turning the tables so that it seemed like I was the victim. It wasn't hard. She had given me the perfect ammunition. I began to make her feel like she was walking on eggshells. I would show up late for dinner, make excuses not to go out, and when she tried to bring up the future, about us, I would get distant. I'd make sure she knew that she was the one holding everything together, and that I was the one barely holding on. The more I distanced myself, the more she clung to me. She became more desperate, trying to fix things, but all the while she never knew that I wasn't just standing still. I was playing a game, and every move I made was another step closer to the end. I started withdrawing from our social circle too. I stopped talking to her friends, stopped attending events, and gradually she found herself isolated. I could see her frustrations building, but I didn't care. In fact, it felt good to watch her unravel. It felt good to know that I was the one who held the power. I had started taking control of the finances, shifting things around so that I would always have an upper hand. She hadn't noticed yet, too caught up in her own attempts to salvage what was left of us. Every time she asked if I was upset, I'd say I was fine. But I wasn't. I was angry. And that anger was turning into something darker. I kept her in the dark. She didn't know how much of the house I had started putting into my name. She didn't know that the bank accounts were slowly shifting in my favor. I didn't want her to know yet, not until the time was right. By now I had built the perfect trap for her, and she was walking straight into it, one step at a time, believing every word I fed her. She thought we were still trying to fix things. She didn't realize that I was already planning my exit. And it wouldn't be just an exit, it would be a takeover. Every little thing I did was a part of my plan. I wanted her to feel helpless. I wanted her to be at my mercy. To think that if she just tried harder, I would come back. But I wasn't coming back. I was getting ready to destroy everything she had left, piece by piece. Then one evening, as we sat in silence after dinner, she asked me again, "Do you think we can get back to the way things were?" I didn't answer immediately. I just stared at her, watching her wait for an answer. She didn't know it, but she had just asked the wrong question. The more I looked at her, the more I realized. She thought we could go back to what we had, but we couldn't. Not after everything. Not after what she had done. Finally, I spoke. My voice was cold, distant. "I don't think so. I don't think we can ever go back. Not after what you did." She flinched as if my words were a physical blow. But I didn't care. I wasn't here to be kind anymore. I wasn't here to comfort her. I was here to make her feel the weight of every lie she had told me. Her face twisted with confusion, her eyes searching for an explanation that wasn't coming. I knew what she was thinking. "What do you mean?" "We can still fix this." But the truth was, she couldn't fix it. I had already made my decision, and now I was preparing to make her pay. The evening air was thick with tension. Emily was sitting across from me, her face a mixture of exhaustion and hope. She had tried so hard these past few weeks, but I could see the signs, the desperation in her eyes, the attempts to hold on to something that was slipping through her fingers. She still didn't understand. She didn't realize that I had already made up my mind. The house felt cold tonight. It had always been warm, filled with laughter, with the sound of us planning for the future. But now it was just a house, and soon it would no longer be hers. I had spent the last few days in silence, letting the final pieces of my plan fall into place. The contracts were ready, my name already written at the top. All I needed was her signature, and after tonight, everything would change. I waited for her to speak first. She always did when the silence became too much. It was the one thing she never could stand, the quiet, the unknown. But tonight, I wouldn't speak first. I had given her enough chances. Now it was time for her to face the consequences. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, she asked in a soft, almost fragile voice, "Why are we still doing this? Why don't we just try to move forward?" I looked at her, my face a mask of cold indifference. "You don't get it, Emily. There's nothing left to move forward to." Her expression faltered, confusion clouding her features. "What do you mean? We can fix this. We can work through it." I couldn't help but let out a small, bitter laugh. "Fix it? You think we can fix this? You've lied to me for years, Emily. You knew all along that we'd never have kids. You knew it from the beginning. And yet, you made me believe otherwise. You strung me along for 8 years, playing the perfect wife while I built our future on a lie. Don't you dare tell me we can fix it now." Her eyes filled with tears. She was shaking her head as if hoping that by doing so, everything would go back to the way it had been. She reached out, her voice trembling. "I never meant to hurt you. I didn't know how to tell you the truth." I could see it in her eyes. She was pleading for forgiveness, for understanding. But there was nothing left in me to give her. She had used up all my compassion, all my trust, and now she was paying the price. "I don't care about your excuses anymore. You should have been honest with me from the start, but you didn't, and now this is what happens." I watched her as she crumbled before me. She was still trying to hold on to the illusion, to convince herself that there was a way out of this mess she'd created. But the truth was, there was no way out. Not for her. I reached for the stack of papers on the table. I slid them across to her, slowly, deliberately. The final blow. "Sign these," I said flatly. "The house is in my name now. All of it. And when you sign these papers, it's over. No more lies. No more pretending." She hesitated. Her eyes flickered between me and the papers, her mind racing, but she couldn't avoid it anymore. The reality of the situation was too much for her to deny. She had no choice. The truth was laid out before her, and it was as cold and unforgiving as my voice. "Don't do this," she whispered, her voice cracking. But I was already done. My heart had hardened, and there was no room for her anymore. "It's done, Emily. You don't get to ask for anything now." She picked up the pen with shaking hands, her face streaked with tears, and signed the documents. When she finished, she looked at me, her expression a mixture of resignation and disbelief. There was no fight left in her, no last-ditch attempt to save us. I had taken it all. I didn't feel sorry for her. I didn't feel anything. I had known from the moment I found out the truth that this was the only way forward. I would leave. I would take everything, and I would start over, free of the lies, free of the chains she had wrapped around me. I stood up, taking the signed papers from her. I'm leaving now. You can stay here if you want, but it's no longer yours. Everything we built together is mine now, and I'm taking it all with me. Her eyes widened in shock, but she didn't say anything. She couldn't. There were no more words left. The damage had been done. I turned and walked toward the door. I heard her voice, faint and broken, calling my name one last time. Please, don't go. But I didn't turn around. I didn't look back. I had already walked away from her a long time ago. The door closed behind me and I stepped out into the night, leaving everything and everyone behind. For the first time in years, I felt free. Free from the lie. Free from the manipulation. And as I walked away, I realized that I had finally reclaimed my life. No more chains. No more waiting for something that would never come. It was my time now. I had destroyed her, just like she had destroyed me. And in the end, I was the one who walked away victorious.